way, you get played out of position.
TKV against Dave Allen. I love Fraser, but how is he got picked over Dave Allen to fight for the British title? He got spondoodled by Fabio. I know he's come back against Ebenezer Tetis, and Dave Allen's arguably beat Johnny Fisher in the first fight, very close fight, and knocked him out in front of 10,000 at the Copper Box. He should have got the order. About a month ago, more, probably 6 weeks ago, I said to Ben, we want to do Dave Allen against Jamie TKV. TKV's team were reaching out to me direct. Ben said, yeah, you can speak to them, blah, blah, blah. We spoke to them. We sent everybody a contract. Jamie TKV signed a contract to fight Dave Allen and sent it to Boxer and said, I've signed it, send it to Matchroom. They said, oh, we're going to get in touch with Matchroom. There's a few bits. Radio silence for a month. Because what they were trying to do was to try and convince the board to do Frazer Clarke against Jamie TKV. TKV said, no, I don't want that fight. I want to fight Dave Allen. It's an incredible opportunity for me. I want that fight. At that stage, you do as you're fucking told. You don't go quiet. You act in the best interest of your fighter.
Now, here's the thing. Eddie Hearn made the suggestion he'd like to see Dave Allen fight for the British title against Jamie TKV. We know TKV was put forward to rematch David Adelaide after their controversial fight. So he was definitely getting a crack at the title. But Dave Allen is not ranked in the top 10 in Britain. Eddie can suggest Dave Allen fight for the British title, but he can't order the fight. He can suggest it, but he can't order the fight, especially when his man isn't ranked in the top 10 and Frazer Clarke is. Now, Ben Shalom was in his right, even though he did it a little sneaky. Radio silence didn't get back to Matchroom about what was going on. Tell them, look, we're going to abort this fight and we have other plans. They didn't do that. And I guess they're not obligated to do it. But here's the thing. Whatever platform Ben Shalom lands on, he's going to announce that soon. He's going to want a British title fight, an in-house British title fight. That'd be one of his first big cards. So he suggested Frazer Clarke fight TKV for the title. And in fairness, Frazer Clarke is ranked at number 7. Dave Allen is not ranked. Eddie can't tell Ben Shalom how to do his job. If TKV is not satisfied with Ben Shalom's insistence that he fights Frazer Clarke for the British title, that's between him and Ben. At the same time, Ben did authorize Eddie to talk to TKV, and TKV signed the contracts. So that contract is still valid. If TKV wants to take the fight and Dave Allen wants to take the fight, they can still make that fight, but just not for the British title. And maybe TKV should use that leverage against Ben Shalom and against Eddie Hearn too. Which one of you is going to pay me the most? I know Jamie. Not well, I've met him once. We had a good conversation. Jamie, if you're listening, don't let them play you out. When Jamie was, 4-0 or something like that? They put him in there with this Brazilian, 11 wins, 11 knockouts, and lost the close fight against world-ranked Sergei Kuzmin. You think they were matching Frazer Clarke like that in his 5th fight? No, because they invested in Frazer Clarke. That's why Ben Shalom is going all out to get Frazer Clarke the fight. And Jamie's got to look after himself. If Jamie was going to get more money for fighting Dave Allen, or he saw it as an easier way to get the British title, because Frazer did beat Dave Allen and Dave wasn't in the fight, well, Jamie's got to look out for himself. Everyone else is. Flipping Al Siesta, putting inexperienced Jamie in there with this knockout puncher with more than twice the amount of knockouts than Jamie had fights. I was disgusted. That's one example on how Jamie has been mismanaged by Ben Shalom on Boxer. That's one. So Harry Armstrong and Jamie fight each other. Jamie wins on points. Jamie is rewarded with a fight in the York Hall, 1,000 plus capacity, against this Brazilian who's won all his fights by knockout, double the amount of knockouts than Jamie's had fights. His only loss was a competitive fight against world-ranked Sergei Kuzmin. Harry Armstrong, who Jamie beat, is rewarded Johnny Fisher for the Southern Area title, coming off a loss on the undercard of Anthony Joshua versus Robert Helenius at the O2 Arena. Make it make sense. This Al Siesta guy throws Jamie in way over his head because he's inexperienced compared to his opponent to save his little bullshit York Hall card. Base knows this. I said, Jamie, haven't you got no one to address all of this shit here? I've been documenting it all on my channel. When I'm relaying this to him, he hadn't really thought about it like that. Eddie Hearn was right. The promoter is actually working for the boxer. It's not the other way around. He's supposed to do what is in the fighter's best interest. But there's a conflict of interest here, isn't there? Big Frazer's the Olympian. He's the bigger name. He's the one that Sky broke the bank to get after the Olympics, him and Ben Whittaker. Whatever platform Ben Shalom lands on, they're going to expect Frazer Clarke to be prioritising one of their bigger attractions, not Jamie TKV. When Jamie fought Adelaide, the referee tapped him on the shoulder, called break twice, and then tried to deny it to Jamie's cornerman, Barry. Barry was going to tear his head off. Adelaide walks out with the belt and the win. Because you're up against Frank Warren's boy. The politics were never going to go the way of Jamie TKV's. And the same thing will happen with Jamie in a similar situation against Frazer Clarke. Similar ending, let's say. Jamie gets hit with a punch on the break. The same thing will happen. They're going to prioritise Frazer. At least with David Adelaide, Frank Warren was the rival promoter. This is going to be your own promoter stitching you up in a similar scenario.
Boxing
beats and rhymes.
No one
can do it better.
Josh Taylor, Britain's first 4-belt undisputed world champion, has been forced to retire at the age of 34 with a reoccurring eye issue. He became undisputed champion in 2021, outpointing Jose Ramirez in America. His greatest moment of his pro career turned out to be his last great moment. He won his next fight against Jack Catterall, but it was very controversial, and most people agree that Jack Catterall should have been crowned undisputed champion. His 4 belts got splintered and fragmented due to the bullcrap politics of the sanctioning bodies, and he lost the last of his remaining belts to Teofimo Lopez at Madison Square Garden. Then he lost the rematch to Jack Catterall, and then he lost this year to Echo Esserman, an underdog, on a Frank Warren Queensbury card in May. Taylor started well. Echo Esserman finished very strong and was working Jack over. Post-fight, you can see Jack's eye swollen, red. That's likely the eye giving him issues. Jack was moving up from 140 to 147, but the natural welterweight strength of Echo made a big difference. And now he's telling us he can't go against the advice of the doctors, and he's calling it a day. He's had a very good career and has some very good victories on his resume. But looking at the tail end of his career, after he beat Ramirez, losing his last 3, this forced retirement might have saved his health long term. I don't think Josh is going to improve from here. I don't believe so. But the best wins of his career were against Jose Ramirez, obviously, Regis Prograis, and what a great fight that was. Took O'Hara Davis's O, and we wish him the best in retirement, although he doesn't appear to be the nicest person.
But yo, you step this way, you get played out of position.
Boxing
beats and rhymes.
No one
can do it better.
But yo, you step this way, you get played out of position.
Boxing
beats and rhymes.
No one
can do it better.
I don't want the sanctioning bodies to dictate nothing. It's not productive for boxing. I want to see them run out of boxing once and for all. Now, I understand that Caballero and Joseph Parker deserve title shots. I do. But I prefer Turkey Al Sheik's playground more than I do the sanctioning belts playground. Listen, if Parker and Caballero need a belt and Turkey wants to see Usyk fight Moses Itauma, just get Usyk to vacate one of the belts. Isn't that how Danny Dubois got his belt in the first place? Just do that again. And if the rest of the sanctioning bodies approve the fight, and even if they don't approve it, fuck them.
With no grief.
Put the Ring Magazine belt up. I don't mind seeing the 20-year-old Moses challenge Alexander Usyk. I know what you're going to say. He's not ready. He hasn't fought nobody. And that's all true. I just like the idea of Parker and Caballero getting their world title fight, getting paid, and we get to see a match that a lot of people would like to see. I'm one of them who would like to see the fight. He hasn't had his natural instincts trained and beaten out of him or anything like that. He's in that phase of life where he'll try something stupid and probably pull it off. Right now, youth might be the only effective opponent to challenge Alexander Usyk. He's going to be nervous, but that youthful nervousness is different to old boy nervousness. You think Ali wasn't nervous when he fought Liston? Them moves ain't in no boxing textbook. Leaning back, moving his head left to right. And that's what Moses offers. A lot of people still don't understand the last knockout. They're saying, oh, he fought a nobody. Yeah, he was a nobody. But he still knocked him out by moving backwards. Like I dare say, Muhammad Ali when he was young. Moses is young enough to try something stupid and pull it off, where the older fighters are so rehearsed, are so scared of making mistakes because they don't have the fearlessness of youth that can make mistakes and still win. Now, as for the debate that he's not qualified to fight for a world title, I'm not looking at the debate of whether he's qualified to fight for a world title. I'm looking at the matchup. Sometimes a fight needs a world title sanction to it because, like the lower weight guys, for instance, they don't get as much coverage. They don't get as much media time. So I'm not saying they don't play a role to sanctioning belts. But sometimes I just want to see the fight I want to see. I shouldn't have to justify every fight I want to see on the merits of a sanctioning body when they're corrupt as anything.
Boxing
Beats and rhymes.
No one
can do it better.
And party and bullshit.
Deja vu? Didn't AJ turn up late to Wembley when Daniel knocked him out last year? They're saying here Daniel arrived late to Wembley because his dad held a party at the family home. Now it says here Daniel is based in Essex right now. He was resting up ahead of the Undisputed showdown when invited guests of his father, Stan, were at the house. Daniel briefly left the home because he didn't know the people in attendance. His father later drove him to Wembley after private cars, which were accredited to enter the area around the National Stadium, were used to ferry guests to the venue. Oh my gosh. You used the accredited cars for guests when them cars were specifically for Daniel. That further delayed Daniel's arrival as the car they travelled in was not accredited and he did not get into the venue until 80 minutes before the scheduled ring walk time. Usyk arrived an hour earlier. There were also chaotic scenes when entering the venue over getting some of those party guests in the venue, with Dubois held up in the middle of it all. Daniel was stopped in the 5th round. Frank Warren has called for Dubois to have 6 months off and learn from the man he has suffered 2 career defeats from when it comes to mental resilience. That's a nice way, I guess, to say he didn't quit. Now, the delay getting to the venue is not being used as an excuse by Dubois' team, and neither should it. But they're saying here in the Mirror, it's another sign of the odd relationship that Daniel has with his father. Now, according to Danny Glover from Fight Fan Live, they had a party before the AJ fight, and of course Daniel won that. But Danny's saying there were 30 people at the AJ party, and it looked more chilled, playing dub plates. But the party for Usyk, there was 75 people there, and it seemed like it got a little rowdy. Danny didn't know the people in the party.
There were other things that happened which I would not use as an excuse, and there aren't any excuses, because everyone knew what they had to do and what time the walk time was. It was always known that the walk was going to be around 9:45 because there's a curfew at the stadium, and he could have done with being there a bit earlier, but he wasn't. These are things that you have to learn. These are things that you have to do. Usyk got there. Give himself time to prepare and do everything at his own speed because he's a consummate professional.
I don't know if Dad was trying to sabotage him or teach him a lesson. I don't know. But something is not right. If that story checks out, that there was a party on the day of the fight, something is not right.
He did his very best, and his best wasn't good enough. Usyk's a great champion.
You know your son very well. He's only 27. What do you believe is necessary now for him to come back?
Well, that's up to him. We'll have a chat and see what he wants to do.
Do you know yet what you'd like him to do?
Not really. He's a grown man now. He'll make his own mind up.
Learn the words. We all say things for a reason.
He's a grown man now. He'll make his own mind up.
He's basically telling Radio Raheem from Seconds Out, Daniel makes his decisions. If he chose to be in the environment where the 70 people were packed in the house hours before the biggest fight of his life, then drove in the designated cars that would have gave Daniel quick access to the stadium, it was his decision. He seems like he's washing his hands from any accountability. I'm not sure if we see him around the Daniel Dubois setup after this. Sounds like he feels he's losing control. It's like a power struggle between dad and son.
This is what I've heard, and I wonder what your reaction to it was. There was a party at Daniel Dubois' house, ordered by his father, with about 70 people at the house.
The day of.
The afternoon
Impossible.
of. The afternoon
was
of.
Daniel there?
Yes.
Was Daniel there?
Daniel couldn't have been around. And the people that were there were not known to Daniel, to such a point that Daniel actually asked his father if he could go out for a drive because he didn't know anybody there.
That is insane. Sorry.
And then, beyond that, You'll see footage of it. The entourage, this party that Daniel doesn't seem to know anybody of, were all coming to the fight, but they weren't allowed in the arena. And so on the way in, they're being asked by security as to the reasons why they come in, and Daniel is being stopped and told, I think his father told security that unless you let these guys in, he's not fighting.
Oh, that is sorry.
How disruptive.
That is very. No, that is a different story altogether. That is insanely disruptive. Wow.
I mean, we're talking about fighters being regimental on the day and superstitious on the day, and some fighters want to wear a ring in their laces and all that sort of stuff. And it all has to be on point for you to go in there, because, like you say, like any little thing can throw you off track.
That is not a little thing.
Could you imagine? No, can you imagine going through that?
Yeah. No. And the problem is, it's coming from someone that he looks out of the ring. When they're talking, it's coming from his dad. Obviously, I've trained with him. His dad's a huge part of his life. So that is obviously going to be disruptive.
Are you surprised by this, Joe?
I am very surprised. It's shocked.
The most baffling thing about the whole situation is Frank Warren, Don Charles, not so much Daniel. Daniel idolizes his dad. But no one's throwing dad under the bus. They're all doing this damage control, pick my words, be careful what I say to the media thing, tiptoeing around the dad equation. So, look, either he's working at a judge really good and he's got Don and Frank under his spell, or Don and Frank are really embarrassed and don't want to admit that the nurse took over the asylum. I'm wondering if Daniel's dad got paid off to sabotage his son. I'm really contemplating that.
Unless you let these guys in, he's not fighting.
Huh? What?
Or was he on drugs?
Daniel Dubois is actually a lovely kid, but his dad is a scumbag.
No worker of iniquity shall succeed. Take you down a bad path as they lead. Daniel's dad needs to get right. Yes, indeed. But for now, we're going to end the feed. Peace.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.